Greetings. Hope this finds you well. So, the Israeli government has dropped leaflets on, I believe it's Gaza City, home to, I think, close to 1 million people, saying they need to evacuate within 24 hours. So, the Israeli government, Israeli military is getting ready to have another Nakba, to have another ethnic cleansing. And Nakba, translated, I believe, means catastrophe. So the original Nakba happened in 1948 when the settler colonial state of Israel was created. 750 Palestinians were ethnically cleansed from Palestine, and the Israeli government is getting ready to commit another ethnic cleansing, getting ready to commit genocide. And again, one of the huge reasons the Israeli apartheid regime is able to commit these atrocities on a daily basis since 1948, since its founding, is because of the unconditional support that Israel receives from the United States and the $4 billion in military aid that they get each year. So let's check out this article from Mondewies explaining the situation. Operation Al-Aqsa Flood, Day 7, Israeli genocide and ethnic cleansing underway in Gaza. This is from the Mondewies Palestine Bureau. Israel is preparing to ethnically cleanse Gaza of its northern residents. Early on Friday, October 13th, Israel ordered the United Nations that it should start evacuating the 1.1 million Palestinians who live in northern Gaza, including Gaza City and North Gaza. The UN stated that moving over 1 million civilians in under 24 hours was, quote, impossible without devastating humanitarian consequences, and that humanitarian situation in Gaza Strip has reached lethal lows. Israel's directive to the UN was accompanied by a campaign of psychological warfare on the people of Gaza. Mondewi's Gaza correspondent Tariq Hajjaj, who is based in Gaza City, reported that Israeli army was dropping leaflets on neighborhoods, ordering residents to leave their homes and flee to the south. The campaign aims to sow panic and fear among the people of Gaza so that they will flee and leave the area in service of two projects, one military and the other political. Military objectives to separate the Palestinian resistance from its popular base so that Israel can isolate and eradicate it, and the political objectives to realize a new phase in the Zionist colonial project, which is to ethnically cleanse yet another part of Palestine and expand its territory into Gaza. So be able to give that land over to more Israeli settlers. And then the first part, as they said, there's a lot of resistance within Gaza, and moving those people out of there would think weaken that resistance effort. Massacres and psychological warfare. This campaign of psychological warfare is being backed up by its action, as Israel has already dumped over 6,000 bombs on Gaza in the last 6 days. 6,000, nearly matching the number of U.S. bombs dropped in Afghanistan in a single year. And again, Gaza, I believe it's about 25 miles long by 5 miles wide. That's the same amount that was dropped on Afghanistan in a single year, entire country. Obviously, you shouldn't have been dropping bombs on Afghanistan either, but the intentional campaign of indiscriminate airstrikes, it's a war crime, leading to massacres of entire families and leveling of entire neighborhoods. Ministry of Health in Gaza reported that the number of Palestinians killed in airstrikes reached 1,799, with 6,388 injured. Vast majority of civilians, and a third of the martyrs are children. A third of them are children. Human Rights Watch has confirmed Israel's use of white phosphorus both in Gaza and Lebanon, which the organization confirmed through eyewitness accounts and video evidence that shows, quote, multiple airbursts of artillery fired white phosphorus over Gaza City port and two rural locations along the Israel-Lebanon border, according to Human Rights Watch. White phosphorus is an incendiary weapon used to burn objects and people in wide areas. Its use in densely populated areas like Gaza is considered illegal under international humanitarian law. So another war crime. So it literally, yeah, would just burn your skin on contact. The Al-Qassam brigades, the military wing of Hamas, announced that 13 of the Israeli prisoners in Gaza were also killed by Israelis' indiscriminate airstrikes during the past 24 hours alone. According to the Hamas English language Telegram channel, 6 of them were killed in the northern government in 2 separate places, and 7 in Gaza government in 3 different places that were affected by the barbaric Israeli bombing. On Friday, massive demonstrations took place across occupied Palestine and the Arab world in support of Gaza, the Palestinian resistance, and the rejection of Israel's ethnic cleansing in Gaza. Hundreds of thousands of people took to the streets in Jordan, Yemen, Iraq, Egypt, Iran, Turkey, and Palestine. Protests were also reported in Germany and France, with more demonstrations expected to take place in the United States. Fears of a second Nakba. Israeli evacuation orders reminiscent of the Zionist radio broadcast of 1948 that contributed to the Nakba, terrorizing Palestinians into fleeing from their homes for fear that they would fall victim to Zionist massacres, such as those that Zionist forces perpetrated throughout 1948. Most notably, the current evacuation orders by the Israeli army have instructed Palestinians not to return to Gaza until it gives them permission, which they never would. The same orders that were given in 1948 before the Nakba, when Palestinian refugees attempted to return to their homes after the war in 1948, were prevented and shot on sight and labeled as infiltrators. Again, infiltrators, that land belongs to them, but they were treated as infiltrators and shot on sight by the nascent Israeli state. The orders also stoked fears among Gaza's population of an impending expulsion operation. While many have begun to flee to the south, many others in northern Gaza are refusing to leave their homes, knowing that this might spell their permanent ethnic cleansing from their lands. The vast majority of Gaza's population are refugees or descendants of refugees from 1948, and the memory of how the Nakba took place is ingrained in the psyche of many Palestinians across generations. 77% of Gaza's population are refugees. 77. Expelled from their homelands by Israel in the 1948 Nakba. Among the areas of the northern West Bank, that have been ordered to be evacuated are 2 of Gaza's 8 refugee camps where hundreds of thousands of refugees live. Images coming out of Gaza on Friday, Palestinian families fleeing on foot with their belongings in their hand and their backpacks bore stark resemblance to the images of Palestinians being forced out of their homes by Zionist militias 75 years ago. Compare that to the images last week at the Israeli airport of the Israeli settlers fleeing, waiting in line at an airport, right? The juxtaposition. Pretty easy to tell if you're actually being, rational about who the oppressed and who the oppressor is in this situation. Pretty damn clear. Day of rage and armed resistance in West Bank and Jerusalem, and then you have this juxtaposition. The resistance is still there. They're still fighting, right? Protests erupted across the occupied West Bank and Jerusalem, as well in parts of 48 Palestine, as Palestinians took to the streets to demonstrate in support of the Palestinian resistance and their people in Gaza. On Thursday night, a number of confrontations were reported across the West Bank, with at least 3 Palestinians killed, including a Palestinian woman who witnesses say she was shot while driving near a military base at the entrance of her town, Ramallah. According to Palestinian media, confrontation reported by Thursday night in the Bethlehem, Hebron, Ramallah, and Quilia areas of the West Bank. 2 Palestinians were shot and killed by Israeli forces in Quilia in the northern West Bank. 72-year-old Muhammad Mujed Salim was killed in the town of Jayus. Another unidentified Palestinian was killed in the town of Al-Nabil Ilas. In the Ramallah district, 37-year-old Randa Ajaz was shot and killed while she was driving with her son in the car, who was also injured. Ajaz was passing near an Israeli military post in the town of Yabrud, Ramallah. Circumstances remain unclear. So they're fighting back. They're still resisting. Palestinian resistance groups in the West Bank also engaged in armed clashes with Israeli forces, concentrating resistance efforts in the areas surrounding illegal Israeli settlements, so the whole place, right, and military checkpoints. Reports continue to stream in of armed clashes in different geographic areas, with a large portion of reports coming in from northern West Bank. So there we go. The Israeli government, Israeli military is planning to again ethnically cleanse, to have another Nakba, another catastrophe, all aided and supported by the U.S. and other kind of Western governments that support this settler colonial apartheid regime and are allowing it to, continue to carry out these atrocities against the Palestinian people. But they're still resisting. They're still fighting back. And I think I saw somewhere that Iran said that they would step in if the people in Gaza were facing annihilation, and that very well might happen, right? So we'll see. All solidarity with the Palestinian people as they continue their struggle, their liberation struggle for freedom. From the river to the sea, Palestine will be free.